Why? Because I couldn't be in both places at once, she said to me. I was shocked. I then began to start crying. What's wrong? She said to me. This is all my fault, I said as I then showed her the birthday cards from behind my back. Here, I said. What's this? My mother asked. It's your birthday, Mom, don't you remember? I said. No, I thought it's not for another couple of months. No, it's today, I said as she was shocked. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I forget as well, I said. I have been so busy, I continued as we both laughed about forgetting my mother's birthday. I love you, Mom, I said. Even though I don't show it. I know, darling, she said as we had a hug. We hugged for over 10 minutes as we just needed to love each other. I love you, we both said at the same time. We laughed, we cried as we just needed each other right now. So what do we do now? I said to her. Well, I think we should get back to your store, my mother said. Oh yes, that will be a good idea, I said as I picked up the phone and began to ring for a taxi. Hello, can I order a taxi please? I said on the phone as my mom turned on the TV and began to look through what was on. Yes, a car will be with you as soon as possible, the man said on the line as I then said. Oh, and I only have one leg, I continued to him. Oh, that's okay, the radio operator said. I put the phone down as I then slowly got up and began to walk to the front door. I guess it's time to go, I said to my mom as I began to get emotional. I'm going to miss you, I said to her. I am going to miss you too, she replied. I opened the door and slowly walked outside waiting for the taxi to arrive. I must have waited for over 20 minutes before the taxi driver finally arrived. The car pulled up and then honked his horns. I slowly walked up to the car. Car for George, the driver said. Oh yes, that's me, I said as I got into the car. So where are we going? The driver said. Yes, I am going to George's Sugar Shack, I said to the driver. Oh, that place, it hasn't been open for days, the driver said. Oh yes, I have been in a little incident, I continued. Oh, sorry, I didn't know, he continued to say. Oh, it's okay, I replied as we drove to the store. It must have been 20 minutes of complete silence as we drove from my house to the store. Here, the driver said as I paid him. Thank you, I said as I slowly got out of the car and walked towards the store. I got the keys out of my pocket and opened the door. I changed the closed sign to the open sign as I began to walk around the store looking how dirty everything was. Wow, has no one cleaned this place up? I asked as I couldn't believe the mess. I grabbed the broom and began to clean up. All of a sudden I turned around as I heard the door open as the bell rang. You, I said to the customer. What are you doing here? I want some sweets, he said. I'm not serving you, I said as I went behind the counter. The man came closer. I want some sweets, he said as he banged on the counter. I took a deep breath. Okay, I said. What sweets do you want? I asked him. I want some blue mice. We don't do blue mice, only strawberries and cream, I said as he was getting angry. Look, I don't care, you took my wife, now the best you can do is give me some fucking sweets. Well, I don't serve any blue mice, I repeated. He looked at me with a strange look on his face. I want some fucking sweets, he shouted as he then banged on the counter once more. Sir, I won't serve you if you continue to be this angry, I said as he then slammed his hand right through the counter and broke it, sending tons of shards of glass into the selection of sweets. I was shocked as I couldn't believe what happened. I took a step back. See what you have done now, I said as his hand was bleeding from all the glass shards that entered his hand. You have done this, he said threateningly. I haven't done anything, I said as I got him a bunch of towels and tried to stop the bleeding. Here, I said as he took the tissue of me and began to clean up the mess. Here, come into the back and we will get that all washed off, I said to him. He shook his head as he was really upset with me. So what are you going to do? I asked him. He remained silent as he looked at all the blood dripping out of his hand. I hate you, he said as all of a sudden he began to start shaking around. I then came out behind the counter and grabbed him. Look, I know you hate me, but we aren't together anymore. Turns out she was my aunt and it was just awkward, I said to him. He looked at me strangely before fainting onto the floor. I grabbed him before he landed on the floor. I then dragged him into the back room. I got some water from the tap and began to give it to him to drink. He slowly came around as I was checking on the hand and how much blood he was bleeding. Get off me, is all I heard as he pushed me away. Dude, you fainted and you really need to see a medic, I said to him. Don't tell me who I need to see my wife, he said. I suddenly thought, if she was my aunt, that must mean you are my uncle, I said to him. Uncle Ray? I said. He looked at me confused. I have never heard of that name in my life, he said as he tried to get up. He looked at me and then all of a sudden he came at me and kissed me on the lips. I pushed him away. What the fuck was that? I said to him. Don't lie, that's all you wanted from me, he said as he tried to kiss me again. What the fuck are you playing at? I said once more as I threw his hand onto the floor. Don't ever ask me to do anything ever again, I said as I was slowly walking away. All of a sudden he grabbed my leg. What are you doing? I questioned as I went down and landed on him. He then kissed me once more within a second of falling. He then began ripping off my clothes. I couldn't resist. We then proceeded to get naked and began to start having sex on the floor of my store. Ray! I shouted as I was suddenly enjoying it. Oh George! He continued as he began to stroke my cock. All of a sudden the front door of the store opened once more. We both looked at each other as I rushed to put on my clothes. Coming! I shouted to the customer as Ray was just laying on the floor with his hard cock out. Oh you go get them, tiger, he said. I then giggled as I couldn't believe what was happening. I went outside to the front of the store to talk to the customer. George, he said as he showed his ID badge. I was shocked. Who are you? I'm here to inspect the place. What for? For the sale of the place, he said. I was confused. This place isn't for sale, sorry you are confused, I said as he handed over a piece of paper. This is your signature? He asked. I looked at the piece of paper to discover it was my signature. I don't remember signing this, I admitted to him. Sorry, I have to follow orders, he said, and you have signed it, so we are going through with the sale. I continued to look at him confused. Sir, you have to sign it right now, he said as I took the clipboard and began to read through it. Give me the pen then, I said as he handed me the pen. I proceeded to sign it. Here you go, I said as I threw it back to him. Okay, good, he said as he looked at my signature. You don't mind if I have a look around, do you? He asked. I looked at him for a few more seconds as I then noticed the glass all over the floor. Do you mind if you give me a couple of minutes? I said as all of a sudden I remember my uncle in the back room. The man nodded his head as all of a sudden a customer came in. Excuse me, are you open? He asked. No, we are just doing some renovation, I said to him as he put on a sad face and closed the door. Oh, okay. he said as walked away. Is that how you treat all your customers? The inspector said. Well, I didn't want them to come in while you were here, and I'm still cleaning out the sweets with all this glass, I said as I took the glass shards out of the box. Oh, okay, the inspector said as he noted that down. Do you want some sweets? I asked the inspector. No thanks, he replied. So what are you going to do with this place? I asked him. I'm not sure yet, maybe sell it to McDonald's, he said. Oh, I said as I was surprised. But there is a McDonald's on the other street, I replied. But it will create more jobs in the area, he replied. Oh, okay, I said as I didn't want to fight. The inspector continued to do his rounds and looked around the store. We can put an ice cream machine here, he said as I was then walking back into the back room to see Ray sitting on the table. He grabbed my hand and pulled me over. Hey baby, who was out there? He said as he kissed me on the cheek. I pushed him away. Now is not the time, I said. I'm losing the store, I continued. Ray was shocked. What do you mean? Uncle Ray replied. Someone forged my signature on some sale thing and now the store is up for sale. Oh, Ray replied as he then pulled out his wallet. I will buy the store back, he said. No, you don't have to do that, I said. I just want to help, Ray continued as he began counting his money. All of a sudden the inspector came into the back room.